Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Kenyan primaries hit more hurdles as police link another death to the voting for party candidates to stand in August's general election. Also, Ugandan government dissident Stella Nyanzi sent back to jail after appearing in court asking for bail. She was jailed for comparing President Museveni to a pair of buttocks. And despite its international popularity, South African wine struggles to command high-end prices. And some vineyard owners say they're struggling to stay in the business. But first, Kenyan police say that at least one more death has been linked to the hotly contested primary elections in Nairobi. Throughout the country, political parties have been choosing candidates to represent them in August's general election. It hasn't been smooth sailing, though. Lenny Ruvaga joins us with more.
The primaries began 13 days ago for called Orange Democratic Movement Party and will end this Sunday for them. However, on Friday, the Jubilee Party, that's the ruling party where the president and the deputy president come from, cancelled its primaries due to irregularities, and the president came on national television stating that they were underprepared and pledged to conduct better prepared polls, which they are conducting right now. However, from my perspective, Julia, we've had sporadic cases of violence across the country. In Kisumu County, in particular, where ODM comes from, there have been protesters burning tires in the streets, protesting against irregularities and unfair polls from their perspective. And this also happened in Bita. This is also in Kisumu and in Western Kenya, where there was violence. In Nairobi, it's largely peaceful, if I do say so, because the counting is happening right now as we speak. So we'll know the full extent of the primaries tomorrow morning for Nairobi. And Nairobi is really hotly contested because it's seen as the seat of power. This is where you find the judiciary, this is where you find the legislature, and this is where exactly the executive holds sway. So largely it's progressing on well. There have been irregularities on both sides from CORD, ODM, and also from the Jubilee Party.
So, Lenny, ultimately all eyes are looking towards the August general elections. What do the primaries going on now reflect about what's likely to happen then?
Now, Georgia, a lot is at stake. Kenya has a bicameral parliament, the Senate, the upper house, where the 67 seats, and the lower house, the National Assembly, where there are 349 seats. Now, in both houses, I'll have you know that Jubilee has an outright majority. Now, this is what is up for grabs. There is unpreparedness, but there's a difference here. The general election is conducted and overseen by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, which is mandated by laws to conduct and oversee elections. However, the party primaries are the sole responsibility of the respective parties.
Lenny Ruvaga there for us in Nairobi. Now, UN peacekeepers in DR Congo say that at least 20 more people have been killed in mounting violence in the central region of Kasai. Ethnic clashes in the town of Mungamba were stoked by local militia group the Kamuna Sapu. Kinshasa says that those insurgents were responsible for the killing of 2 UN investigators and showed a video to local reporters this week, allegedly showing the assassinations. The decision to do so attracted some criticism. Thomas Nicolon reports.
Should Congolese authorities have shown the video that seemed to show the murder of 2 UN experts? Well, various human rights organizations in Kinshasa say it was a mistake to do it, first of all, because it can lead to a severe trauma for the victims' families. But other organizations also say that the fact that the government was able to see the video is a proof that justice is not independent in this country.
The government identified a group of people as being part of the murderers who killed the 2 UN experts. It indicates that the government has already established that these people are guilty. In other words, the government has already guided the Congolese justice towards a certain path, but justice needs to investigate as an independent institution.
The government spokesman Lambert Mende said that if the authorities were able to show the video, it's only because the military prosecutor authorized it, because he had already analyzed everything he needed to analyze in that video. It was important to show it, Mr. Mendes says, because of all the rumors regarding the responsibility of the Congolese army in the death of the 2 UN experts. And according to him, well, the video is the proof that the Congolese army had nothing to do with it. Now, regarding the identity of the murderers, nobody knows yet for sure if they are members of the Kamwin and Sapu militia. But one thing is for certain, a few of them have been arrested by the authorities and a few others are still being tracked down.
Nicola there for us. Now, Ugandan academic and fierce critic of President Museveni has been sent back to prison after appearing in court on Wednesday. Stella Nyanzi has been jailed for more than 2 weeks for posting criticism of Museveni, including comparing him to buttocks.
Stella Nyanzi has been sent back to prison. The university lecturer has already spent more than 2 weeks there. Her bail application will not be examined before she undergoes a mental checkup. Her lawyer claims the judge's goal is for her to be confined as a mental patient. Nyanzi is charged with cyber harassment. On Facebook, she called President Museveni a pair of buttocks and described his wife as empty-brained. Museveni, who's 72, has been in power for more than 3 decades, and anti-government protests are rarely permitted in Uganda.
State is a big animal to deal with an individual, and it's sending a signal to the rest that we can actually do what we've done to Stella Nyanzi. We can deny bail, we can intimidate.
Nyanzi posted her comments after the government did not keep its promise to fund sanitary pads for schoolgirls. In the streets of the capital, Kampala, there were mixed reactions to her stance.
As a lecturer, I expected her to be exemplary, and I don't know now what our students took, because tomorrow we may find even our students doing the same thing. For me, it's not good.
She should also be determined to face some consequences. I implore her to be strong enough. For whatever comes, she shouldn't be shaken.
Many Ugandans discovered Nyanzi in April last year when she stripped naked at her university to protest the closure of her office. She later shared the nude photos of herself on social media.
Now, the UN's new special representative for South Sudan's warned that the number of refugees fleeing because of its ongoing civil war is threatening regional food stores. David Shearers said that since the beginning of this year alone, 60,000 people have left, many of them farmers. Around 1 million South Sudanese are at risk of starvation after 3 years of violence. The fear is that there's little political will to end the fighting.
Despite what appears to be attempts by the parties to achieve victory by military means, a political solution is the only way forward for South Sudan. Military offensives are fracturing groups and intensifying ethnic divisions to a degree which will hinder reconciliation. Regrettably, no party has shown interest in reviving the peace agreement.
Now, South African wine has an international reputation, but despite its success, customers aren't willing to pay premium prices. Some vineyard owners say that they can't afford to stay on in the business.
An early morning harvest in the vineyards of Stellenbosch. Some of South Africa's best wines have been grown on these rolling hills for over 350 years. But as praise from critics pours in, price tags are bottoming out, with customers reluctant to pay over $20.
There's just this notion that South Africa doesn't produce wines at the same price point. If you look at the ceiling of South African wines, I would say red wines, probably people are not keen to spend more than 400 or 500 rand, and white wines 200 to 300 rand as a ceiling, which puts the average way down.
The VinPro Winemakers Association says 40% of its 3,200 members are running at a loss. In just the last decade, some 900 have quit the business altogether.
South African wines are often viewed as value for money. It's the way that it was introduced when we were exposed to the international market again. And that has become a burden because South African wines are not just value for money, they are often exceptional wines that deserve higher prices.
The wine industry here employs some 300,000 people and in 2015 contributed nearly $2.8 billion to the GDP. But few South Africans even drink wine. And experts say tapping into the black middle class and the rest of the continent is vital.
The black middle class now, in purchasing power terms, is bigger than the white than the purchasing power of the white population. So if you're sort of cutting more than half of your market off and saying, you know, we're not going to sell to them or we can't sell to them, then you're cutting yourself off from a large proportion of what you need to sort of save the industry.
Facing stiff competition in their traditional markets like the UK and Germany, experts insist South Africa's wine producers will have to win new fans elsewhere if they're to put a cork in the problem.
Well, that's it for Eye in Africa. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.